Davengers.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a special episode of West Coast Davengers. And I have a guest here. You can't see him, but he's here. My friend, Andrew P. You know him as Andrew PCC on Instagram. What's going on, buddy?
Hi, Dave.
Thanks for joining me. And for the people that don't know, this is not about the comic books in front of you, but what I wanted to do was just show off some faces by the great Jack Kirby. But we're here to talk about the brand new zine that me and Andrew self-published called The Many Faces of Jack Kirby. Andrew, is this the first time you've ever created a book, layout, design, all of that?
It's not the first time, but it's definitely the first time that the design was this focused and targeted on one sort of through concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the idea by me, executed by you. I don't know. I don't want to take more than 50% of the credit on this because I wouldn't know what to do with. I had the idea, and you were like, hold my beer.
Well, you sort of came up with this idea. I don't know where it came from, but you called me one day and said, I've been looking through these Jack Kirby books and had this realization that there are these incredible splash pages that show up throughout the book that really feature his ability to draw a caricature or to draw emotion in a face. And I think book after book, sort of realizing that these amazing moments pop up and that it would be really fun to turn it into a zine and capture them in one place, just as kind of just a fun document of this repeated technique that he had. And the idea was that these were all just going to come from books that we already had. So this wasn't like a 3-year mission to collect a complete survey of every time Jack Kirby drew a face, but it was, like we were just talking about before this started. This is a really great way to spend more time with art that we both just really love and respect.
Yeah, and we're blessed that we have so many books that have his artwork, and it isn't all expensive books. Some of these books are extremely obtainable, and I had a lot of lower grade copies, and so yeah, this kind of spawned from my conversation with Jim Rugg. We were talking about a Sienkiewicz zine, and it was like, yeah, I noticed all of these things because I was looking at book after book of Kirby, and I'm like, they have these iconic splash pages of faces. So long story short, it's been a couple months. We worked on it together, picking through the ones that best fit it. And then you put it together. And, just to start with the end page, opening up the book, and it's the original art of this. This is him. This is Adam Warlock. Mm-hmm. And this thing is bonkers.
Yeah. There's a few pages in here that, we went back through the old heritage auction files just to kind of accentuate and drive home what we were looking at in the photo of the book page. It worked pretty well.
Yeah, and it's just you don't see artists in comics doing stuff like this where it's just a face, but there's emotion on it. I know you are kind of fascinated by his shadows and his lighting on some of these faces.
Yeah, I mean, there's this really sort of strange thing that happens when you zoom in on some of these faces where the shadows really become abstract shapes. And if you sort of relax your eyes like an old mall 3D poster, they really turn into something else. And right. I don't know, he had a lot of talents, obviously. I can't quite untangle how you get from point A to point B with that inking and that kind of mark making, and still sort of maintain the emotion that comes through in these faces. That was a favorite part for me.
And for the design element, I sent Andrew a stack of comic books. He had some. You photographed them all, and we credited. We show what issue it is and what year it is. And for me, I look at it also from like a different perspective of I look at the eyes and I'm like, we know that Jack Kirby was a straight-laced guy. You know, he's a former soldier. He was a really stand-up human. But if you look at these eyes, these are like people, you know, they're the eyes of like certain drugs will do that to you. There's a lot of psychedelicness into Kirby's work and in these faces, but he was as straight-laced as they came. That's just kind of a testament to how good he was at his craft. To
Yeah, there's a real subtlety to the mark making and the kind of economy of emotion that comes through
Mhm.
um, in in what he was doing. It's really it's beautiful.
It is. Yeah, no two faces really look the same. Like if you look at you've got two metal face characters here. You got Orion and you have Doctor Doom. And like Doom looks drunk. Like those eyes
Yeah,
are half masked. And then Orion looks locked in, focused. And it just kind of blew my mind. Like I can't think of another artist that did close-ups like this consistently and constantly. I mean, you know, McFarlane did the profile thing pretty consistently, but that's a profile. It's completely different than a literal head-on shot of a face.
yeah. This is a good example of that abstract um,
Mhm.
shadow on the face.
Yeah.
If you just isolate that shadow, it's a pretty wild shape, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense outside of the context of a face if you separate it.
Mhm. This one was one of my favorites when I found this one in the, Fantastic Four Annual 5 because, you know, this is 1963, so we're a little bit away from the '50s, but I imagine this being a '50s advertisement for a housewife to take Xanax. You know, something like that, like, "Ah, Xanax, it'll relax your day." You know,
Yeah, and
before
chase it with some Clorox.
yeah. And Crystal looks absolutely bananas, but also gorgeous, you know? And he was so unique with his faces. Nobody could do him like, you know, Kirby. Nobody could even touch it.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too that sort of I was reminded of working on this and spending so much time with these images is that you know, there is a kind of endless and relentless amount of material to sort of talk about with
Mhm.
these Kirby pages. And you and I, when we were sequencing the book, kind of would get stuck on pages like this and just looking at how much detail is going on in the background. What was the reference for that ceiling lamp,
Right.
the table lamp, like there, the pictures on the wall, like there's,
Mhm.
these faces are sort of one of an infinite amount of things that you could really pick apart and, spend years looking at.
And I'd like to give you a very honest and special, you know, kind of kudos for you doing what you did here with this, you know? I didn't even notice this when, you know, we first did it, and then you had isolated those 2 faces of Reed and Sue in the background and put them here, and it's just more wild shadow, you know? Look at that shadow on the back on Reed's face.
It's like a Rorschach test.
Yeah.
The other thing we talked about that I think worked really well in here is that it felt important to not just scan these pages in,
Mhm.
but we wanted to maintain the look and feel that these things were objects. Um,
Yes.
and that these, I think that the scale that we ended up printing them out is important, but I think being able to see the texture on the edge of the pages, the foxing and the wear on some of the corners, even
Mhm.
like this image, you can see the staples. There's a
The
little
staple
staple rust
rust.
on there.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to capture all of that too because it's part of the experience of turning a page and coming on one of these faces. There's a whole sort of
Mhm.
context that we didn't want to lose.
No, it's a physical where we created a physical object based on other physical objects, and I want to do that justice because we are both big comic collectors and fans and readers. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
not just having a thing that has a cover; it's what's inside. This one's absolutely bonkers. The 2001 Space Odyssey face.
Yeah, I love those pages.
Yeah, yeah, and it just you know sheer terror in this face, and you know mischievous deviousness in that face, and uh, I don't even know. OMAC 1 is one of the creepiest things ever created. I mean, yeah, yeah, but so many faces in one page, and he was able to make everything feel different like this one. And this, what did I say? I call this the first selfie. This is the first
Yeah,
group selfie ever put into print or put into the universe, because that's totally what a selfie looks like. Oh, hey everybody, look, I got the camera.
that point of view is perfect arm's length for sure.
Yeah. And he's like, wait, what? I mean, that's the thing. Like, these faces all have some form of emotion, and it's all different. And he was just a master of it. I don't, and well, I want to talk about iconic faces. But I never heard, you hear people talk about his prolificness, some of the shortcuts he used, the Kirby fist, the Kirby crackle, the foreground face in the lower corner, but I never heard people talk about the faces that he drew. And so that was kind of like the idea, mixed with the fact that when you hear people, and he's probably the most talked about person to ever grace the medium of comics, maybe only matched by Stan Lee. But that's one thing that I never heard people talk about, and I'm sure somebody has, but I haven't heard it.
Yeah, I did a bunch of digging around and listening back to old interviews with him and um, you know, critique videos. There's a insane amount of writing that's been done about
Mhm.
him and about his relevance in the industry, but I didn't come across anything that sort of specifically talked about this type of like emotive cartooning or the techniques that he used. I do really like the fact that these each one of these splashes is it's like there's a little viewport here that you're looking through into this world, and every single one of those faces is looking back at you. I mean, even the taxidermy on the wall is
Yeah,
um,
yeah. It's almost like breaking the fourth wall, right? Like,
yeah,
you're the reader, and Kirby's saying, "These characters know that you're watching, and
yeah,
I'm gonna prove to you, because it's not just one character, it's every character is
yeah.
looking back at you." I love this one. This, like, Arnim Zola pre-Modoc type looking thing.
Hmm.
Well, actually, this is probably not pre-Modoc. This is probably post-Modoc, or maybe around the same time, but great. But yeah, I thought it would be fun to put this together. And I'm not a designer. This is not my forte to do stuff like this. But man, it was like seamless working with you on this, and I'm so happy that it was, because this could have easily have been something that never got made, because we could have disagreed on any number of things, but there was no disagreements. It was great.
No, I think it was a great idea, and I think it helps to have amazing source material to work with. But I
Sure.
think it's a good sign that we were only three-quarters of the way through this and um, talking about what the next one could be.
Yeah, yeah, and this will not be the last. We'll put together something else and something else. I have some ideas. I know you do. And then the end pages, the back page, wanted, we're dedicating it to Jack and Roz. Also, a shout out to Cartoonist Kayfabe, because if they didn't tell us to make more comics every day and every week and every month for the last 5 years, I don't know if I would be so motivated to do so. Um, but this was like such an amazing experience doing this, and getting to it was so much fun to do the research, quote unquote, which is looking through Jack Kirby comic books. Like, oh my god, the worst research I could ever do in my life is to have to look at a lot of Jack Kirby. Oh man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, there are plenty of worse ways to spend your time.
Yeah.
That's an easy list to make.
And for anybody watching, I think right now we're gonna go forward. You can go to westcoastavengers.com and shoot me a message on there, and we can I can you can order a copy of this. The cost is going to be $25, and we're going to be donating a portion of the proceeds from every sale of these books to the Jack Kirby Museum and Research Center. But Andrew, any last any more thoughts or anything you want to say about this?
I'm looking forward to hearing from people about pages like this that they've seen. It'd be a lot of fun to do a second edition of this that adds more content. I think that, like we said, this is a pretty endless uh, endless well to tap here. So I'm curious to hear where the conversation goes.
Yeah, me too. And remember, this is something that two people put together using just the tools of the comic book and paying homage and paying tribute to the most prolific comic book god of all time. And for my part, I want to just say thank you, Andrew, for doing this, for being the co-pilot on this, for being the navigator.
Yeah, super fun. Thank you.
Thanks for everybody for watching. Remember, you can just go to westcoastadventures.com, shoot me a message, and can order one of these. And like I said, we'll be donating a portion of the proceeds to the Jack Kirby Museum and Research Center. You hit that like button, subscribe if you're not. All my links are down below. Direct Edition Podcast. Follow Andrew on Instagram at Andrew P. CC. His hyperlink will be down below, so you can click and follow and see all the fun, self-published, fun fanzines and cards and Todd McFarlane cool stuff that he has. And I'll see you next week on the Jack Kirby's the God Man. Faces. Everyone has them.